Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bala Giridhare Nandana Brajajana Nandana Yamuna Tira Sanachadi Yamuna Tira Sanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bala Gopi Jana Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Nam Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudire. For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and to Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master. Sure. So this is text 31, chapter 17, continuing punishment and reward of Kali. This is also the appearance of Radhakund, and so I'm going to read this verse and purport and try to segue into that somehow. So it's also, what is it, the Balalasva Lastami, when they at moonrise they're in the lake. So, but anyway, I'm going to try to speak some things about Bhagavatam. Rajo Vacha Na Te Udakesha Yaso Dharanam Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam
Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam
Brandanjalaya Vayam Ashti Kinchit Bandhanjalir Vayam Ashti Kinchit Na Vartitavyam Bhavata Kathanchana Navartitavyam Bhavata Kathanachana Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu Rajo Vacha Nate Gudakesha Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam Patanjalai Vayam Ashti Kinchit Navartitavyam Bhavata Kathanchana Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu Rajo Vacha Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam Buddhanjalai Vayam Ashti Kinchit Navartitavyam Bhavata Kathanchana Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu
Rajuvacha Nate Gute Se Nasodanam
Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam
Padre Jale Vayam Asti Kinchit
Patanjalai Vayam Ashti Kinchit
Navitatavyam Bhavata Katanchana
Navartitavyam Bhavata Kathanchana
Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu
Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu
Rajovacha
Nate
Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam
Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam
Patanjalai Vayam Ashti Kinchit
Patanjalai Vayam Ashti Kinchit
Navartitavyam Bhavata Katanchana
Navartitavyam Bhavata Kathanchana
Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu
Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu
Raja
Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam
Nate Gudakesha Yasodharanam
Navartitavyam Bhavata Kathanchana
Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma
Kshetre Manye Tvam Adharmabandhu.
Okay, the word for word. Raja Uvacha.
Raja Vacha.
The king said.
King said.
Na. Te. Your. Guru Kesha. Arjuna. Yasadaranam. Of us who inherited the fame.
Of those who inherited the fame.
Bandha Anjale.
Bandha Anjale.
One with folded hands.
One with folded hands.
Vai. Certainly. Bhavyam. Fear. Ashti. There is. Kinchit. Even a slight. Na. Neither. Vartitavyam. Can be allowed to live. Bhavata. By you. Katanjana. By all means. Kshetre. In the land. Madiye. In my kingdom. Tvam. You. Adharma Bandhu. The friend of irreligion. So I'll say, then you repeat, please. The king then said. We have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered. I should have said. I'll say that again. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself. With folded hands. You need not fear for your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom. For you are the friend of irreligion. Thus, the king thus said, we have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of irreligion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Kali, who is the friend of all kinds of irreligiosities, may be excused if he surrenders, but in all circumstances he cannot be allowed to live as a citizen in any part of a welfare state. The Pandavas were entrusted representatives of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who practically brought into being the battle of Kurukshetra, but not for any personal interest. He wanted an ideal king like Maharaj Yudhisthira and his descendants like Maharaj Parikshit to rule the world, and therefore a responsible king like Maharaj Parikshit could not allow the friend of irreligiosity to flourish in his kingdom at the cost of the good fame of the Pandavas. So I'll read that sentence again. I sort of broke it up a little bit. He wanted an ideal king like Maharaj Yudhisthira and his descendants like Maharaj Parikshit to rule the world, and therefore a responsible king like Maharaj Parikshit could not allow the friend of irreligiosity to flourish in his kingdom at the cost of the good fame of the Pandavas. That is the way of wiping out corruption in the state, and not otherwise. The friends of irreligiosity should be banished from the state, and that will save the state from corruption. So, yeah, so we don't have kings like Maharaj Parikshit who can just, handle people like Kali or the personality of irreligion. But what we do have is, our sword is the Sankirtan movement, the chant of the Hare Krishna mantra. And so what we do is, in this particular storyline, Parikshit is giving Kali respite in places where there are sin. But now this whole kingdom is Kali. So what we are doing is creating a place where there is no sin. Where there is austerity, there's cleanliness, there's mercy, and there's truthfulness. And there is the constant chanting of the personality of God, its holy names, his pastimes, his qualities, and the worship of his deities' forms, the distribution of his Krishna Prasada, the distribution of his books, the studying of his literatures. And so we create an atmosphere that is Kali-free. And Srila Prabhupada, under his direction, if we follow his directions, we can create an atmosphere that is free from irreligiosities. And this is our weapon, and this is our means of dealing with Kali. Now, Kali was willing to give up his dress as a king to save his life. But Pariksit, he gave up his dress as a king to prepare to go back to Godhead. So there's two different kinds of... You see the motives of one. One was that I'm trying to save my material body. The other one is I'm trying to save my soul. So he was willing to sacrifice the dress of the king so that he could sit down. No, even though he could have reversed the curse, he accepted it because this was a chance. Now I know exactly when I'll die. I know this is, I know in 7 days. So what do I do now, knowing that I'm going to die in 7 days? And he was advised to sit down and hear from Sukadeva Goswami the glories of the Supreme Personality of God. Now, the reason why Pariksit was so angry with Kali was because he was beating a cow and a bull, the symbol of religiosity. There is a pastime in Krishna's Leela, his childhood Leela in Vrindavan. Kamsa was sending all these different demons, these asuras, to try to kill him. And they would come as very innocent, sweet, like a nurse, Putana, to come and feed, to nurse him. And then there was, I forget his name, or something like Dasori, became like a calf. Like they went in with the other cows and calves, and he looked like a calf, but Krishna immediately realized that he wasn't. Vatasura. And then the Agasura tried to make his mouth look like a playground where all the children could play, and then he would, swallow them up. So they all came, and so then, now, Arista, he was a great Asura, and he was sent by Kamsa, and he came in the form of a bull, the symbol of religiosity. This bull, when he appeared in Vrindavan, was so big and powerful that when his hooves hit the ground, the earth shook like an earthquake. His body was so large that clouds covered the tops of his body, just like clouds cover the tops of mountains. When he roared, all of the and dug his hooves into the ground, all of the inhabitants of Vrindavan were crying, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna! They were so fearful, it caused the mother cows to have miscarriages and some of the women to have miscarriages. That's how fearful they were. They were so afraid of this bull. So powerful was his roar, and so powerful was his presence that everyone was running and fleeing from Vrindavan, begging Krishna to save him. So Krishna did the duty, did the proper thing, and he grabbed the bull by the horns, literally, and threw him like 6 feet in the air. And he went sliding across like this. And this bull was huge. And then the bull tries to get up, and then he kicks him again. And then he just pounds it and pounds it with his lotus feet until he vomits blood and he dies. So now everybody's feeling safe, and this is a wonderful thing you did. You killed a bull. Even though in this story, with Pariksit, Parikit's prepared to kill Kali for beating a bull. Krishna is being glorified for killing a bull because this was a bull in disguise. This was a demon. And so so everybody was glorifying him except for and the gopis. And Krishna was expecting that this was a night where there was going to be, he was going to play his flute and they were going to come and meet him in the forest. And so this was kind of a pastime that the way they reacted to it was sort of very, childish play, you might say. So when Krishna, starts to call for them, Radharani and the rest of the gopis say, we don't want anything to do with you. You just killed a bull. He's the symbol of religion. You're too contaminated. The only way we'll go anywhere near you is if you go to every sacred river and lake in the universe. Then maybe we'll consider. You killed a bull. And he's going, but didn't you see him? Everybody was afraid of him. He was a demon pretending. It's a bull. He's the father of religion. So this was a play, a rasa. And let me just explain one thing. I am the least qualified to really explain these kinds of pastimes because these are the most intimate pastimes between the gopis and Krishna. The most intimate, the highest level of rasa that one can have with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This isn't awe and reverence. This isn't even friendship or parental. This is conjugal. And this is so intimate. And I know myself, I have no all I can do is repeat what I've heard from my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and from other great devotees. And it's a very nectarian pastime, and it's extremely purifying to hear about it. So when Radharani made this demand that you have to go to all the sacred rivers and lakes all over the universe, Krishna says, well, okay, no problem. He just takes his foot and just, BAM! Smashes the earth and creates a huge hole. Then he chants some mantras, and all the sacred rivers and all the sacred lakes in their liquid personified forms appear. The Godavari, Jamuna, the Ganga, all of these rivers and lakes from all over the universe. They all appear before Krishna, and he instructs them to fill this bathing ghat for him so that he can purify himself. Then he enters into the lake, and he becomes completely purified and comes out and approaches the gopis and says, now I'm purer than the pure. I'm the purest of the pure. So now everything's okay, right? And they said, no. No. So they decide that they actually take the hoof print of Arista. It's huge. It was as tall as a mountain. So they take the bangles off of their wrist and start to dig a hole. And they're digging and digging and digging. And then Radharani says, okay, she gives them earthen pots. And then, at one point, Krishna, by his mind, had brought Manasa Ganga over to Vrindavan, sort of like a lake form of the Ganges. And he brought it over by his mind to please the gopis. And so they went, it was quite a distance, but they went and started filling up their pots with the water to fill it up. And the hole. But then when and Krishna is saying, no, that's okay. You can just come in my lake. No, I want my own. And so when all of the sacred rivers and sacred lakes in Shamakund saw, or Krishna Kund, you can call him Krishna Kund, but mainly he's known as Shamakund. When they saw this, they understood Krishna's heart, his mind, and they all went to Radharani and they begged her, please let us serve you. Please let us enter into this lake, this hole, and make a lake for you. And now this lake also has the love of Krishna within the waters as well. So she agrees, and all of the rivers, all of the sacred lakes enter into this ghat, and then she and the gopis bathe in that. And now this has the love of Radharani within this lake. So, and so this is it's a very intimate pastime. But what happens at one point then? They become so pleased, Radharani and Krishna. They take a liquid form from out of the lake, a liquid form of their lakes, which is pure love. It's pure love of Radharani and pure love of Krishna, or Shama. And then they enter into the lakes. Then they have an intimate relation that night. You see them sitting on the banks and sitting on little beds of flowers and being served by all the other gopis. And it's a very sweet and beautiful pastime that I can only explain it to you. Explain it in a sense that I'm repeating the words that I've heard. I have no realization of it. I don't have any real feelings of love. in that sense. I am simply trying to present it the way I've heard it. Because just by hearing these pastimes, it's purifying. And maybe in some lifetime, a few centuries from now, I'll maybe attain samadhi. But there are great devotees who worship there. It is actually recommended by all the Goswamis, and even Srila Prabhupada, that one should worship this Radha-kund as the most sacred place in the universe. And devotees go there around this time of the year, and especially tonight. They go there. But devotees, what you'll see is devotees will do a parikrama around the ghat. There's several ways to do this. One is, you'll see someone start by paying obeisances. He pays it full dandavats, and he puts a stone where his hand ends up. And then he gets up, and then starts the next obeisance where that stone is, and places another stone. And they go all around Radha-kund, or they go all around Shama-kund, or all around both of the kunds. And then there's some people that actually go around all of Govardhan Hill, which is very close by. That takes days. And the heat, and it's not very comfortable. It's a very, some of the roads are just, dirt roads. Some of them are very uneven brick roads. And they're doing it with just like Gamsha type dhotis, path dhotis, in the heat of the sun. Not stopping for drink or food. They stop at the end of the day. So this is one way that people worship. There's also, devotees take you on parikrama, which means to take a walk around. And there are many temples and holy places with very beautiful pastimes on the banks of the Radha-kund and Shama-kund. I have some of them. I'll just pick out the most, they're all important. I can't say the most, but the ones that I know the best. But the parikrama starts before you get to Radhakund. Right before Radhakund, there's a temple for Radha Gokula Nanda, and this temple was built by Lochan Das Goswami. Then, the very first temple at the beginning of the Ghat, it's a temple of Lord Shiva, and the name of that particular is, does anyone remember? So I have it written down here. It's Kundaswara, the Kundaswara Mahadev Linga, which is Lord Shiva protects the holy Dham. And he protects Shyamakunda and Radhakunda from unqualified people coming there and causing a disturbance. I mean, you never should, it's recommended to bathe, but you never should put your feet in and take your hand, place it on the water. But in any case, from there, the oldest Radhakrishna temple is there. When Raghunath Das Goswami, who is the principal Goswami, who his task by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to excavate these two kundas, and he spent about 50 years doing this. And when he first started, he was there for some time and he wasn't having much success. And then one cow came to him. Or no, a young boy came to him. Some of these things so you can correct me, but I remember partially. But because it's been a long time for me. And then I was doing some research yesterday. It was really sweet all day, just absorbing in myself in the hearing about the devotees glorifying Radhakunda. Some very nice devotees that live there, or live in Vrindavan and Govardhan, like Mahanidhi Swami, these devotees like that. And when Raghunath Das Goswami first got there, he didn't know what to do. And he was getting very, very frustrated. And finally one boy came to him. And the place was like a jungle. Nobody knew where anything was. Even Lord Chaitanya himself, when he first came, nobody knew where Radhakund and Shyamakunda was. He came in from the south side above Shyamakund. And he entered into two paddy fields, and he saw a little puddle of water, and he understood that this was Radhakund. And then he started to bathe in that little puddle of water, and slowly then he started preaching about the glories of Radharani's love for Krishna, how that is the highest form of love. But Raghunath Das Goswami is sitting very perplexed how to develop this, where to start. It's a jungle. And a young boy comes to him, it's Krishna, and he tells him there's a cow on the top of the hill, and his milk goes down every day, or her milk goes down every day, down to this one area at the base of this hill. And he understood, Raghunath Das Goswami understood that the cow was feeding a deity or someone down there. So he had these workers start digging a hole, and they came up and they found Radha Gopal. They're 5,000 years old. Wow. It was shown to him. Krishna came, showed Raghunath, he's not knowing, and there's a cow, a Surabi cow. Milk is rolling down the hill. That's where to dig. And they dug and dug and dug. These deities are now being worshipped. It's so after you see Gokulananda, which is just outside, then the Kundaswara Mahalinga, and then you see off to the side a little bit, off the main path, there's Radha Gopal deities. And also, in the courtyard, there's two trees, a neem and a banyan, and they're intertwined. And this is understood to be Radha and Krishna. So that was his first success. Then The next thing, which is off just a little bit to the other side, is the Julan Yatra Tala, which is a stone archway, which was built by Lalita and Vishaka for the Julan Yatra, for Krishna and Radharani. And then, so that's the swing ceremony. So after the first swing ceremony, then all of a sudden, just outside the where the swing is, 8 petals, a lotus flower began to blossom. 8 petals with 8 shakis were sitting. Then 16, then 32, then 64, then 128, then 256, then 512, then megabytes and megabytes of lotus petals blooming infinitely of gopis surrounding this Julan Yatra. And this all happened there. Though there's a temple right after that, I don't know much about it. It was established by Bhaktivinoda Kunja Bihari. The next one, though, it's off to a side, and it's called the Malayahari Kunj. This is where Krishna found the jewels and the pearls to make these beautiful pearl jewelry for Radharani. And he placed them into a golden box, and on the golden box, in jewels, he wrote the name Radha. And so this place is still there. It's like a little lake. And so after he brought the jewels, or had the jewels sent to Radharani, the gopis prepared, it's called tambuli. It's a type of prasadam, and it was like nectar for Krishna. And they also made these beautiful jasmine flower garments, which were very much appreciated by Krishna. And it only increased his love for Radharani and the gopis. These are the kinds of exchanges they were having. So then, from there, this is a very interesting. It's called the Shiva Kaur and Ramaswar Shiva. There was a she-jackal who came to Radhakund and began to drink out of the waters. Some children saw this she-jackal and they started to beat it, hit it with sticks. So the she-jackal ran into a foxhole to take shelter. And then the children, they set fire. Do you know this story? They tried to burn him out. That's right. Yeah. And so they started to, were you there? You never know who's around you. So they tried to burn out the she-jackal, and she began to scream and cry. And Radharani's always there. She's always there. Whether you can see her or not, she is always there. And these lakes are actually considered the liquid deities of Krishna. That's actually Krishna. They're deities. It's actually the love of Krishna and the love of Radharani. The love for Krishna has for Radharani, and the love that Radharani has for Krishna is embodied in these lakes. And so she's there, and she hears the crying. So she sends a gopi and rescues the she-jackal and brings the she-jackal to her. And the she-jackal immediately falls at her lotus feet and begs for, to take shelter of her. And she grants her eternal devotional service to Krishna. The other interesting thing about this is the deity there is half would be our left. Could be on our left side. Is the half of the face is blue, and on our right side it's white. In other words, it's Krishna and Radharani in one deity. That's all I'm saying. And Swami means like Lord Chaitanya, you know. So now we get to the Gopal temple, which is an ISKCON temple. And it was built by a king from Manipur many generations ago. And in the 1980s, it was donated by another king to Bhakti Swarup Damodar, Srila Prabhupada's disciple. And it's worshipped and taken care of by the Manipuri devotees in a Manipuri style. You know, Radharani has that Manipuri style dress, the kind of straight, if you saw the Manipuri dancers. And this deity insisted that when the deity told him, when the king, when he was building the temple, that he must face east so that he can see Surya, the sun god. He wants to give Surya benedictions every morning, and he wants a good view of the Shamakund and Radhakund. So from there, we go to the Radha temple, which is directly across the road. This was built by Vikeshwara Pandit, who's actually an incarnation of Aniruddha, like Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, the quadruple expansions of Krishna. So Vikeshwara Pandit in Chaitanya Leela is known as the most famous dancer. And as long as Lord Chaitanya would sing, and Vikeshwara Pandit would dance beautifully. And their love just kept increasing. And Vikeshwara Pandit said, if you provide thousands of beautiful celestial singers, I will dance as long as they sing. So then there's several other temples, and I'll just move on to some of the I want to get to a few, and then we'll end up real quick, because there's the tongue of Radharani, the tongue of Govardhan. When they were digging a well, Raghunath Das Goswami was having the workers dig a well for drinking water, and it was behind the Shamananda temple, I believe. And they hit a rock and blood started coming out. Then that night, Govardhan came to Raghunath Das Goswami and said, "You hit my tongue." So then they built the temple around that tongue of the Lord.
Wasn't the tongue also bleeding?
Yeah, it was bleeding. That's why they stopped immediately. The blood was coming out. There's one I really want to tell, and then we can, and it has to do with Janava. And I'm trying to remember exactly where that one is. But anyway, I'll tell you. Here it is. Yeah, I'll just tell the story. So Janava Mata is the wife of Lord Nityananda. So after Lord Nityananda left, she would go to holy places, and she came to Radhakunda for 4 days. And she came to the Radha Gopinath temple. And while she was there, she had an actual vision of Gopinath and Radharani. And in that vision also, she saw herself. She is Ananga Manjari, Radharani's youngest sister. And they built a temple there for that pastime. And normally, when there's a Radha Gopinath Ananga Manjari setting, you would have Ananga Manjari to our right, and Radharani would be to our left of Gopinath. Like, Radharani would be here, Ananga Manjari would be there. But in this particular case, Ananga Manjari is on our left, and Radharani is on our right. She also would sit and meditate and chant in this one spot, and they built a little bhajan kurtir with a nice asana, and they have steps, private steps going down into the ghat. So if she's still there, she can go down there and bathe. While there, she saw, looking out on the Ghat, she saw a bridge to an island. And on that island was Gopinath and the gopis engaging in pastimes. And then from that bridge, she saw many other bridges to other islands. And it is said that those bridges and those islands are still there. It's just you need eyes smeared with the eyes of with the love of devotion, the salve of devotion, to be able to see them. So there are many pastimes like this, and of course the Raghunath Das Goswami pastime is the most important one of all. And there's so many. That's a very long story, but we're over our time, so maybe.
On each of these islands, Krishna is having pastimes.
Yeah, that's what she's saying, yes. But the Raghunath Das Goswami, there's so many... Well, first of all, he was instructed to excavate all these places and to build temples. He had no money. Of course, he came from an extremely wealthy family and he had renounced all that money. Now he's sitting as a poor mendicant. Had no money. Didn't know how he was going to do it. So then, turns out there's an extremely wealthy man who's on his way to, what's the name of the place for Lord Shiva? Badarika Aksham. And he's about to donate a lot of money to Badarika Aksham, where there's Lord Shiva and Narayan might be there as well. And in a dream, either Krishna or Nityananda, I can't remember, maybe I wrote it down. Krishna came to him and said, no, you shouldn't go to Badarika Aksham, which is way up in the Himalayas. You should go to Vrindavan and find Raghunath Das Goswami and give all your money to him and help him build and to excavate Radhakund and Shamakund, because they were not excavated yet. And there's actually a video of the actual recently where they were cleaning it out a few years back, and they clear out all of the water and all the mud, and you find the original kund in the center for Radhakund. It's a much smaller. It's like from above, it looks like it's, like from here to there. The whole kund is, twice the size, and then there's a section in the middle that's like a box in the middle. That's the original kund. So they got down to there, they cleaned it all out, and put everything back in, and they're all playing in the mud. It's a really spectacular scene. Anyway, so they're planning on how to do the kund, and they want to make both kunds complete squares, and Radharani's is a complete square. But then, when it came to Shamakund, you notice that Shamakund goes like this, like that, and then like this, and like that. Because one night, in a dream, the 5 Pandavas came to Raghunath Das Goswami and said, we are there, we are in 5 trees on this one section, and we're asking you please not to cut us down. We want to stay and keep getting the association of Shamakund and Radhakund. So so that's why the Shamakund is not the complete square. Those 5 trees, the only one that's still alive is Arjuna, and it's said that the other 4 Pandavas have entered into that tree, but you do see the body of the tree of Bhima resting against one building. But the Arjuna tree is still living. A little side note is that, I just think, speaking of trees, Vishwanath Chakravarti, who was a few generations after Raghunath Das Goswami, he had it's called a pipala. I don't remember. It's a Pelu tree, which was a descendant of the original Pelu tree that was there, residing there during the time of Radha and Shaima during their pastimes and witnessed everything. So this was a descendant. And Vishwanath Chakravarti used to talk to this tree. And this tree gave him all the information. Vishwanath Chakravarti, he's the one who wrote Samsara Davana Dadida Loka. He also wrote many books. in all the pastimes, he got from a pila tree, which is the descendant of the original pila tree that was residing there, witnessing all of Radhashyam's pastimes and the Goswami's pastimes and Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So Raghunath Das Goswami was extremely austere. He was known for being very, very, very austere. At one point, he's sitting on the bank of, I think, Radhakund, and Sanatana Goswami is across on the other side. And Sanatana Goswami can see him, and Raghunath Das Goswami is in complete meditation, totally absorbed in chanting his rounds. And then Sanatana Goswami, there's two tigers that just come right up next to him and start drinking. And he's completely, Raghunath Das Goswami has no idea. And Sanatana Goswami is all the way on the other side. He can't call out because that'll startle him. But then he sees Krishna. And Krishna's like, you can see Krishna's blessing Raghunath and blessing the tigers, that they will not touch him. He was giving them shelter. So Sanatana Goswami is thinking, this is too much. But he's taking service from Krishna. He needs to build a hut. But Raghunath Das Goswami dismisses that. That's not, Later, a similar situation, it's really hot summer day, and he's standing, chanting in deep meditation, and the sun is beating down on him. Sanatana Goswami, again, he sees now it's Radharani standing with the top of her sari over his head to protect his head from the sun, and she's standing in the sun. And Sanatana Goswami says, no, you can't do this. You can't have Radharani serve you. You have to build shelter for yourself. I'm building the shelter for yourself. Like that. In this period, apparently there's another pastime where Raghunath Das Goswami goes into a deep meditation, and now he's in his internal samadhi. He's now in the spiritual world. Even though his body's sitting here, he's entered in. And, which we witness Prabhupada have moments like that. And he saw himself as a manjari. And in that particular pastime, I can't remember if it's Krishna or one of the other gopis or Radharani is feeding her sweet rice. And she's eating enormous sweet rice. And when he comes out of the samadhi, he has indigestion. So he goes to this mystic Ayurvedic doctor. And I say mystic because he's the only one understood. Because everyone's saying, how is it possible he doesn't eat? He just drinks water and a palm full of chipped rice or something. How can he have indigestion? But the Ayurvedic doctor understood the inner meaning, and he said, this is because he's been eating sweet rice. And saying, what sweet rice? And because it was sweet rice while he was in this internal realm. That was Raghunath Das Goswami. They also found him one time when he was very, very old, because he had taken a vow to make 1,000 obeisances every day. So one day, two of his followers found him lying on the street, on the road, and he wasn't moving, and he couldn't move. And they picked him up and they said, Maharaj, it's enough now. You can just do some small dandavats. You've proven, you don't have to do this anymore. And he agrees, he says, okay. And then the next day, they go back and they find him in the same position. He doesn't stop. He keeps that vow of trying to do 1,000 obeisances around the gods. So these are some of the more, there's many more pastimes concerning this, but I heard Mahanidhi describing something very important, that when Lord Chaitanya first found these two gods, and they were covered at the time. He said, it said in this one scripture, I don't remember which one it was, but Mahanidhi, we know, has spent all of the last 30 years in Vrindavan. He's written books. He said that Lord Chaitanya had been searching for Radharani and Krishna's love all over India. And now he finally found them in these kundas. But they were covered, they had to be excavated. And he said that one side of his heart was the love of Krishna. And he releases all of that love that he had stored up in his heart. And like a reservoir of pure liquid love, it entered into Shamakunda. Then on the other half of his heart, the pure liquid love of Radharani entered. He releases that, opens it up, and releases and enters into Radhakunda. And so he also says that in Prabhupada's, on November 10th, 1977, 4 days before Srila Prabhupada left this mortal world, Prabhupada had been requesting for a parikrama around Govardhan Puja. And so there was a big argument about his going. Nobody wanted him to go, except for Lokanath Swami and Hamsadutta. Everyone thought it would kill him. And he died 4 days later anyway. So they finally, after a while, they get the bullock carts ready, and they come into his room, and they say, Srila Prabhupada, this is like Tamal Krishna and Hamsadutta, all these different devotees that were there serving Prabhupada. Said, Prabhupada, we have the bullock carts ready, we're ready to take you on the parikrama. And they asked him if he wanted to bathe in Radhakund when he went there. And he said, no, but I want all of you, all of my disciples, and all of the future followers to take bath in the lake of the kundas of Radha and Shyama properly. Because that is, by bathing in that, you're bathing in the pure love of Radharani for Krishna and the pure love that Krishna has for Radharani. So that was Prabhupada's desire, that for all of us to somehow have that opportunity to bathe on his behalf, because he knew he couldn't go. So I just wanted to say a few words about there's many more things. Krishna Das Kaviraj lived there, so many other stories, but this, I hope just give you some idea of the importance of this day is the appearance day of, and tonight, they'll probably, or right now, it's the night, they have big kirtans. Many ISKCON devotees are there. The ISKCON devotees have many temples, and they go out into the lake, some of them. They have a boat, and some stand on the shores. There's a proper way to bathe. I only just went like this on the head. So then they, so this all happened. This is all there because Radharani didn't approve of Krishna's killing a bull. Srimati Radharani ki jai. And whoever that Aristosaur is, thank you.
It's also the anniversary of the day that our Pandri Prabhu left.
Oh, really?
He left one dear devotee that was here for many, many years. He went to Vrindavan and to leave his body, and he left on the appearance of Radhakund.
Apparently, Talavana's been diagnosed with the same disease now. But Yogendra announced. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
Is this on?